All right, welcome back to the February sales challenge. I know I've gone a little bit behind on some of the recordings, but when you start to see exactly what I was doing, you'll see why. Because over the last 2.5 weeks or so, we scheduled a lot more appointments than I thought. So I was just looking at some of the numbers before I shot this, and in the first week we scheduled about 19. After that, we scheduled about 45 appointments. So I went through the gauntlet the last week, and I can tell you emotionally, man, I'm just feeling the ups and downs of it. Like, and I'll show you some of the challenges that I'm facing. But I do have some good news to report. We do have two people already say yes from that, so that's great. We have one person that's already put in a deposit for the program, $15,000, and then another one who's already sent out an invoice for $15,000, and they're looking to close next week. So at the time of this recording is 21. So at the end of this goal was to close one deal. We already got two in the pipeline. Now I'm not counting the second one because the money hasn't come through, but it's a very promising conversation. The other ones are kind of a little follow up. But we understood that's going into this challenge. Like when you ask someone completely cold to give you money, and I am starting to see a couple things start to stand out to me. When we do the webinars in our current process to make us multiple six figures per month, and seven figures per month, a lot of these, a lot of the things that I'm talking to these people about are going, how do I say it? They're not as easy to explain. They're not as easy to explain because we've masked it so much because we've been doing so much mass market. So meaning we talk to like 100 people and 10 of them buy something, right? So it's different than talking one to one. And I can tell you emotionally, man, this sucks. But it's just a season, right? So mentally, when you're going through this, and even some of you guys right now, like if you have to start from scratch, I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's freaking hard. And the hardest part is not about the mechanics, it's about the emotional roller coaster. Like you have to, and to be fair, like it's not like I'm not doing anything. We still have to run the multi-million dollar per year business. So like I'm being pulled in a lot of directions, candidly, and I'll tell you that because first we have to manage the marketing that's currently going on, and then I have to make sure that the sales team is still doing what they're doing, and then I have to manage the outs, the people we brought on for other particular things, and then also the delivery is good. Like so, those things don't stop. It's not like I'm just going and working and there's the business just collapsed overnight. No, that business still has to run, and so I'm doing this simultaneously. And I'll tell you, it's pretty promising results if I say. And really, what my goal is to come in and come out. So I'll tell you, over the last 2 weeks, I had to bring my assistant from the other side. I brought her over to help me set appointments. Okay. And so that was one of the biggest shifts, if I may. The sooner you can get someone to help you book appointments, and to get out of that so you could just show up to the appointments, it's the faster you can do that. But the first thing you need is the leads, right? You need the appointments. So we started to get the appointments, and I'll show you right now in a few minutes when we dive into the document of what changed. But as soon as you start getting appointments, you pull someone in, or you hire someone. That's right now my executive assistant manages my email, manages my inbox. She manages conversations with the team. She does pretty much everything, to be fair with you. And it's hard to find someone like that. But when you find that person, you want to take care of them in any capacity. And so she's so amazing at that. She's like, yeah, sure, I'll just call these people and confirm that they're going to come, and she's very good about that. So she's very diligent. She, as soon as I told her, "Hey, like I need your help. I need to get on these calls. My job is to be closing these deals. I shouldn't be just having to, trying to nurture these people to get me to talk to them. A lot of the heavy lifting should be done on the marketing side of it, and so we're fixing that, simultaneously, getting these people to show up. So she's been a true asset to that. So I can get in and out of the system. So my goal is to get out of the system as soon as possible so that I can continue to run and manage and direct and basically grow the business, because right now this is not growing the business. It's just like another thing you have to do on the side. That's going to be a new acquisition system, if you will, or a new process to complement our current event process. So, anyways, let's jump into some of the daily things that are going on. Okay, so if you see here, we're looking at the February sales challenge. I'll just show you kind of what's going on right now. So you can see here on February, in the first week, we scheduled about 19, and then you see, boom, all of a sudden there's just bunch of appointments. And to be candid with you, a lot of these appointments didn't show up. So that's where the emotions start to come up, and you're like, I'm like frustrated. And so that's why I told my assistant, I'm like, dude, you gotta make sure that these people are gonna show up. Like, there's no way that these people book appointments and then don't show up. Like, what are they, scumbags or what? What's up with these people? And so, so like I come off in a little and negative energy when I come to these appointments, and like so the reason why you want to make sure that you confirm appointments, make sure these appointments show up, because what happens is you start shifting your energy from like excitement, optimistic, to like I don't even like people anymore, right? And I found myself right around last week creating that process for myself, or thinking that process, where I was like, okay, the reason why I'm feeling this is because the lack of marketing prowess that we're applying to this. Like, the reason why I'm getting high low there's no shows, people are not showing up, is because these people are not um fully in an understanding of what they're doing, right? They fully don't get the process, and it's okay. And also, we haven't done a good enough job of marketing it so that they show and they become the buyer, not me become the seller. So that's the different here. I don't want to have to sell them something. I want them to buy something from me. So the shift there is like we come off almost like we're trying to get their business rather than they're trying to buy our system. And so that shift right there is where I have to put a lot more marketing prowess on the front end, and I'll tell you some of the shifts. But that's the reason why people are not showing up, is because number one is when they schedule the call, there's no clarity behind why they scheduled and why they should show up. And then secondly, I'm not going to blame it on the season, but there's a part of the season inside the tax industry where everyone is um overwhelmed. But to that point, I wouldn't even make I wouldn't even say that's a problem, because why would someone schedule something they plan not to show up to? Like, that's just, I've never seen a CEO do that. I've never seen a good CEO schedule appointment and not show up to that appointment. They just don't show up. They just don't schedule the appointment. So these people right here, some of these people, I'm gonna I look back at that thing and I'm like, hey, you know what, Joe? Just burn the list, burn that people, burn them down. To be candid, like, if they're gonna do that in the beginning, what is that gonna look like at the end, right? And so the people that did show up were qualified. So I did talk to 6 people over the last 2 weeks that were qualified. I did get one of them to convert. So out of the about 60 or so leads that we generated about 60 to 70 leads over this time frame. And we got about 30 or 40 appointments, which is a great appointment ratio, meaning we got about 50% of those people to book an appointment. Um, but our show up has been like 20%. And and then our close rate is, I think, like 15% or something like that, which is not horrible. It's not horrible, but there's definitely an improvement to be made at the show up rate. Everything else tracks down, but I can tell you the reason why the cost per booked appointment is so low, because the quality is also so low. And so sometimes you have to be skeptical about the low cost per lead and low cost per appointment. I'm actually more skeptical about that. I've actually much rather appreciate a cost per booked appointment being higher, because then I know that someone had thought it through to make it to that point. And so creating a little bit more friction up the funnel is what's going to help us downstream, not only for myself, but for when we install our sales team into it, or when we start implementing this more structured process. This is why I need to go through it now, so I can see what the problems are, so that when they come to me with these problems, I can say, oh, you know what? That's not really a problem. That's a you problem. That's not a system problem. Right now, I'm seeing a system problem, a systematic problem. And so you fix most of the problems that I'm facing are a lack of marketing on the front end. Meaning there's not enough marketing to pre-educate someone, so that when they get on a call with me, or if they want to show up to the call, they actually don't know why they're there. So I need to do a better job in the next week or so, putting a lot more marketing at the top of the funnel, top of the machine, so that way it falls downstream. Okay. So most of you guys are dealing with this problem, don't know how to fix it. The biggest challenges we had was show up, right? We had 20% show up, which is, hot garbage. Ideally, I'd like it to be like 70% show up rate, or 60% show up rate. I can deal with that. I can deal with even 50% show up rate, but I can't deal with 20%. There's just no way, right? The blended cost for show up is like $1,000 that it cost us to get someone to show up to an appointment. The people that did show up, I will say, were qualified. So that is good news. So everyone that did show up um, over this time, and you can see there's still some scheduled appointments for next week. So that's why I say, like, even of the 40 here, even though some of those people showed up, some of these people in here are rescheduled. So there's a time where I talk to these people and they're just driving around. And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna take this call. There's no way. Like if someone's gonna be driving around and trying to do they need to know what we're doing here. Another guy was at doing lunch with his girlfriend. I'm like, we're not doing this, man. Like, let's just schedule another call. Like, it's just one of those frames. Like, they need to see us correctly. And so if they don't see us correctly or an authority, then they don't take it serious. And so that when they don't take it serious, then it's not serious, and therefore there's probably going to be a very limited chance of getting the yes. And so that's why, setting the frame up front, even if they say no to the frame, that's okay. I'd much rather them say no and cancel the call than them show up to the call not framed correctly. So if you're listening to what I'm saying about over this last, I guess, February sales challenge is all about the pre-frame. It's all about the upfront standards that allow you to create this filter or filtration system, especially nowadays. Nobody wants to show up to a call. Like nobody wants to book a call. Nobody wants to show up to a call. Unless, of course, there's an authority and there's an outcome base that they're going to get, right? In this case, we give both. But the problem is they came in for the outcome, but we hadn't built the authority fast enough. And so what I have to do is go back and fix the authority mechanism by more better marketing. Okay. The biggest challenge also was the sales script. So I noticed on the sales calls that I had that as soon as I spoke about the software, everything stopped. Everything stopped. Like we were at the sales part, they're like, "Yeah, price is good. Let's go. Let's work and roll. Let's rock and roll." And then as soon as they said, "Do you offer the software?" and I said, "Yeah, we give you guys 6 months." That's when the hill just fell downhill because we do have a software. And and as soon as I gave them that opportunity to make that decision on that, they stopped. And when they lack decision-making power, they actually go backwards. So there's a stalling mechanism, and we created that because of the software, right? And so it's one of those things where I instead of not offering the software, I have to show them in the beginning because every single one of those qualified people that wanted to stall out, they said, "Let me see the demo of the software first." And I said, "Ah, shoot." Okay. By this point, I know I already lost the sale because once they start talking mechanics like that, I know that they are checked out because we lost them somewhere in the sale. And so what I have to do is pre-frame them by putting it on the top of the funnel. So when they schedule the appointment, I'm going ahead of myself. I'm telling you the solutions. But the sales scripting, I'll show you what I changed here. Part of the sales scripting is that I'm getting a lot of delays. Part of the sales scripting is I'm getting people um to at the end of the call, they're like, "Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah, I'll wait," or "Yes, till then," right? And so that means that I'm not getting enough buy-in early on in the call, and I'm not getting enough problems identified. So if you get delays, it's because there's no urgency to change now. And the only way to change urgency now is by asking good questions. If you ask better questions, which I'm not doing yet, then you can expose the urgency that they need to make a decision and why they need to make a decision now, right? Because one of the guys was like, "Oh, I'm losing $50,000 because the tax industry is losing." Okay, and I said, "Well, are you going to make it up?" He's like, "Yeah, well, I'll make it up with the price increase." And I said, "But how realistic is that?" He said, "Well, I don't know. I'm that's still unknown." Okay, got it. So I know now. Okay, that's a pain point. And then and then I said, "Okay, so what are you going to do at the end of the year? Like, what's the plan here?" He said, "Well, I got to do a tax advisory. I got to do tax strategy." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do? Like, how's the strategy going to look? Like, what's the process here?" And so I suspended that gap, but I didn't get far enough because the software at the end of it, when we talked about the software mechanics, or meaning he brought up the software. I didn't bring up the software. He just brought it up because that's what the leading of marketing says. It said software, right? So when we lead with the software, it's hard to go away from the software, of course, because our system is built to help them grow their business, but the software facilitates some of that help. Okay. And so we had to change the frame of the call so that way I can get a little better footing under me. So what I mean by framing the call is On a scale of 1 to 10, just curious, one being just curious, or I'm actively looking for a change right now on how my firm operates, where are you right now? So typically these people are just shopping around trying to get on calls, and I have to call them out early. I'm like, are you just jumping on calls all day just trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life? And to be candid, you can't do that unless you have some type of authority. If I was a brand new person, I probably wouldn't say that. But since we have a pretty decent sized business, I can be pretty transparent and candid with people and not care like how the outcome is. Now, I do care about them, but I don't care about if they do or they don't. I'd much rather them don't because they know up front who we are and how we do things than them do it and then come back and be like, oh, I didn't know all this. And so it's almost like less is more in this case, right? And so literally if they stop here, I just stop the call. I'm like, no. One of the guys also, we had to reschedule like twice, be one of the qualified people, because he was always driving around. I said, dude, are you just gonna like continue doing this or what are we gonna do? Like we gotta get out of this somehow, right? And really that's how you probe for problems to be able to create that gap. And the reason why people pay is because the gap is big enough, right? And so isolating the problem. So one of the two biggest things that I didn't do very well was isolating the problem and framing the call. So that part right there, I needed to change, along with the offer presentation. Okay, the offer presentation. So I tell them these three things. Before it was a lot of words, so I just said, look, the first thing we do is we fix your pricing and positioning. Second thing we do is we install a client acquisition system, and then we give you what the delivery system. Those are the three pillars to make an additional $1 million as a tax firm through tax advisory. That's what we do every day. Which one of those do you need the most? And so when I find these things, that's where I get the more yeses. Okay. So the more I can get yes on this, get yes on this, and get yes on this, then the easier it is for me to get the yes. So once I got through these things, the price was dropped, everything was good, and then and then they asked about the software. Of course, I couldn't hide it. So instead of fixing that on the call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it at the top of the funnel, meaning when they book the call, I'm going to give them the demo so there's no demo talk. There's only like, hey, this is decision talk, right? And so that's the biggest difference there. Um, Booking new appointments became a challenge, right? Because I was getting pretty frustrated with the lead quality as soon as I saw these people book, and I'm like, I saw the the revenue that they were making. I'm like, the marketing is just messaging to the wrong people. Like the our marketing that we created, so I had to redo our marketing because I needed to almost filter even harder. Even though I was already filtering pretty hard, I told them what the revenue criteria had to be, what they had to be doing, and I told them not to opt in if they're not this person. And for whatever reason, they still opted in. Like they just disregarded that completely. So I need to do a better job on this part, meaning the booking the qualified new appointments. We need to do a better job of just filtering and cutting. Even if it costs us more, we already identified that our better customers are worth 10 or even 100 times more than our worst customers. Okay. Calendar blocking. So this is another challenge I faced because of course I still have to meet with our directors, I still have to meet with our managers and stuff like that. I still have to meet with the people that are doing the things to make sure that the ship is still running correctly, right? And those were challenges because my calendar was all over the place. Like if you saw my calendar, it was just like meeting, call, meeting, call, meeting, right? So it's just like the mental shift of having to jump from operator to salesperson is a totally different shift. And so one of the things that we implemented in the second week is time blocking. So we create a little schedule for me so when I can take these calls so that my mind can get into like conversion mode where I can be talking directly to the problems, not talking to our team about the problems that they have that we have to fix as a company, right? And then number five was the numbers. So even though I'm pretty good at numbers, like I was having a hard time even figuring out our numbers. And so I created a little pipeline so that that way it's easier to manage. And what the great news is that I gave the same pipeline structure to our sales team, and it actually helped them out tremendously. They started to be more organized and start to follow the path a little bit easier, and which is great. That's exactly what I was looking to achieve with this is give them more structure so they can fall under, and then they can say, hey, this is what's working, this is not working, this is how it's working, and more optics, so I can have more visibility on what they're doing every day. Because right now, candidly, they're doing a lot but not doing a lot, right? And that happens a lot in business. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things but not a lot of outcomes. Okay, so the biggest changes is um, from not qualified to qualified, or if they showed up ready for the call or not. Because in the beginning, I had qualified people show up and they said, I don't even know why I'm here. So the biggest changes was I had to put the pre-call video, and I said, don't even talk to me unless we're watching this. And I lended so much authority to that VSL, the video pre-call video, so that they had to watch that as homework, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have any context as to why we're talking. And if they didn't do that, I was unwilling to take the call, because it's just not, it's a waste of my time to spend 30, 45 minutes understanding their business if they don't know nothing about mine. And so I said, you know what, Joe, my assistant, I said, nope, they have to see this. If they don't see this, let's not even talk to them. And some people even cancel the call, which is great. I'd much rather them cancel the call after they know what we're willing to do and what we do for them than before, right? And I still need to even improve this pre-call video, because even though people saw it, they still had questions about what we did, right? So that means it's not clear enough what we do exactly. And so I need to change this pre-call video once again, right? And then include the demo, because those are the big challenges I started facing in the beginning. Biggest changes is also, at one point I just told Joe, I'm like, if they're doing less than this revenue per year, just cancel the call. Like, some of these calls I didn't even take. Even if they showed up, they wouldn't have closed. And if they closed, they would have created chaos down the line. And so, getting on a call with someone just to sell them 50 bucks or $500 a month is not worth it, to be fair. It's just not. Like, if you're going to get a salesperson or even someone like me on a call, like, I have to be selling 50 to $100,000 packages. It's just not, it doesn't make sense any other way, because it's just a waste of everyone's time. Look at all the resources we deployed to this, right? And so right now I'm just trying to sell the 15 or $30,000 thing. Um, which is great, because if I can nail it, even with a couple of, like, one or two clients, I can give it to our sales team, and our sales team would feel much more comfortable selling that than just waiting throughout the month to try to see if they can close something, right? Um, and then, so again, I showed you the front end part of the script that I had to change on the sales script, because a lot of the people were coming up and saying these delayed things. And again, a lot of these things here for the last 2 weeks has really just been constant iteration. Like, you have to change little things here and there as soon as you do it. Most people want to have all this perfect before they let this thing go. But I know that if I don't let it go and I don't let, like, things come through, then I don't know what to fix. And so I'm fixing these little iterative processes very quickly. And that's why I wanted to do the sales challenge, to make it within, 28 days, to figure out all the problems that could be facing. Plus, I'm doing this kind of look back to be able to, number one, understand what I'm doing, and number two, help the person behind me, even our sales team and our marketing team, to understand how I'm making these changes, um, to ensure that these people get the results, or to ensure we've already gone through the problems, okay, and fixed them, so they don't have to make the same mistake twice. I do have a part here where I'm actually gonna, if I get through the sales part and we sell these two deals, I'll show you what I'm doing, what we do for onboarding, because I think that's a really, really critical part. Like, if you're doing less than $1 million, you probably don't understand this, but after you do $1 million, you need to have a solid onboarding. Solid onboarding. I'm talking, like, it has to be solid. And I'll show you the onboarding that we created probably when we are going from 1 million to 3 million, and then 3 million to 10 million. It's about the delivery, right? So 1 to 3 million, if I could just install a fulfillment process after, I mean, sorry, an onboarding process after um someone buys, that's the second sale, meaning that's the actual sale. Once they give you money, is not the sale. It's what you do after to convince them that they made a good decision from when they bought. So it's that engagement post purchase that actually makes the sale easier. Um, and if you guys want, you can just put onboarding in the and thing below. and I can cover that if you want. But if not, we can just go through the sales part. But anyways, this is part of the week here. We had a good week this week. I think next week it should be some closing deals. And if not, hey, I'll tell you the problems that we had and where we're going with that. I will tell you in the back of my mind, I'm not enjoying spending a lot of money to get these garbage leads to not show up. So I'm creating a different strategy to engage our current audience or do something like a free marketing campaign. Um, and it might look like something, it might have to be like a launch, like a mini launch. And typically, you guys do want to do that. Like if you're just coming kicking off, like doing a mini launch or like a grand opening or like we're open for business thing always helps because it creates momentum. Like the thing that right now is that we're going straight to try to create momentum without a lot of like momentum created, right? So we're only using money to move this thing, but if we can use momentum and money, then things accelerate much faster. Now, problems do accelerate much faster, but we're paying for speed right now. We need to figure this part out so that that way we can accelerate further down the road. Like we can always stop the machine and then iterate the problems that we've created throughout this process, but not knowing the problems and delaying the problems for 3 6 months, that's the problem, right? It's about not waiting for those problems to come, but pulling them closer and addressing them sooner. And if I can give you any thoughts here on how we got to an 8-figure company or so, or more than $6 million a year, or whatever the number is for you guys, I could just tell you, waiting for problems to come when you know they're inevitable it's just delaying the inevitable. It's just taking more time to create more chaos down the road. And it creates this internal baggage in your body. Like it creates this anxiety, if you will, because in the future there's a problem. So you might as well pull that future closer to you, deal with the problem sooner, and actually release the tension in your body. Physiologically, that's like what's happening right now. Is I'm like, all those problems are going to come up. So we might as well address them sooner than later so that way we can address a different problem, right? And it frees up your mental capacity to do other things. So, anyways, hope this benefits you guys. If it does, just subscribe, follow along. You can see all the other videos on it. You guys are awesome. See you in the next one. Peace.